What's happening to Destiny 2? You asked. For those of you who play Destiny on a regular basis, or you keep up with the game through the subreddit or Bungie.net, the things that this video goes into detail about may not surprise you or tell you anything that you don't already know. For everyone who is not aware of the things that are talked about in this video, big things are happening this September. Now, even if you've never played the game, or you may have touched the game previously and got bored of it, you still may be aware about how every September since Destiny launched back in 2014, every September there's a huge buzz around Destiny. This is usually done by a massive expansion to the game that adds a lot of new content and fundamentally shifts the way that the game works in positive directions. For example, Destiny 1 came out in 2014, but ultimately fell short of a lot of player expectations for retention and keeping them, happy with the game. People got bored too easily. The game had problems that Bungie needed to address, and they did address it in September of 2015 with the release of the Taken King expansion, which again happened in an exact year after the game was launched. This caused a huge uptick in popularity due to the game being retooled to have a stronger emphasis on questing and objectives that pull you into the game easier and for longer periods of time. Fast forward 3 years, and Destiny 2 comes in 2017. In 2018, the following year, the expansion called Forsaken is released. This reworked many crucial feedback points that the community had when Destiny 2 launched, including the way players wielded weapons and player investment, such as adding more grind to the game that they loved. Alright, Vexler, we get it. Destiny players like September. It's a good time for the game. It's a good time to play Destiny. What is so different about this year? This year will be the first time that a Destiny game is going to be receiving new content despite the title being 3 years old. Destiny 1 was expected to have been exhausted by 2017, which is the exact reason why Bungie made Destiny 2. They never intended on making new content for the first game after 3 years, because they were under contract and obligation to make a sequel. Bungie has decided this time that they do not want to develop a new game, force players to restart, and fracture the community, but instead make the biggest changes to the franchise that we have ever seen, while also adding so much content to the game that it could have been released as a standalone title like Destiny 3. In September of 2020, the Beyond Light expansion is releasing for Destiny 2. Now, Destiny 2 is about to start its 4th year of being played since it launched in 2017. This means that the game has 3 years worth of content that new and old players must constantly chew through to do the simplest of tasks. New players jump into this game and go holy from the whiplash of so much to do, but not being properly explained how or what it is they need to do. The burden that this puts on casual or veteran players is that the game is too big. Every time the game needs to receive fixes or updates for the smallest things, these players are adding more and more storage onto their consoles and their computers. Much of this content that we keep lugging around with us is not even being played. Not only that, but the new content that Bungie decides to come out with cannot intervene or be affected by the old content. If Bungie releases a new piece of content, like a new raid or a strike, they have to make sure that every single weapon or piece of gear that's been added since launch will not break this new experience. Every single weapon and armor piece added for the last 3 years. That's a lot. Bungie needed to come up with a solution so that they could continue using Destiny 2 as the foundation for the franchise, while also lessening the burden to themselves and their players by adding to the game indefinitely. Bungie found their solution. They found two, in fact. Solution number 1 to the problems of Infinite Addition to Destiny 2 is a system called sunsetting. Gear in Destiny is assigned a power level. This power level reflects that weapon's damage or an armor piece's protection it provides to the player. Ever since Destiny 1's Taken King expansion in 2015, every piece of gear in the game can have its power level raised so that it is always able to be used when the game releases higher power level content. This system is called Infusion. The way that works is that you find a piece of gear in the world that has a higher power level. You take that higher power level piece of gear and you dismantle it or destroy it, but you also attach that higher power level to a preferred piece of gear that you like to keep and want to play with forever. This allowed for players to find a weapon or an armor piece that they liked and never have to put it down or replace it. This system kills the desire to chase after new gear in the game because it forces Bungie to keep the weapons all on the same level of lethality, otherwise something may stick out and immediately take over and kills every other weapon's viability in the game. This is an issue because Bungie must give you weapons that are totally unbalanced in comparison to everything else, or you simply will not use them. And if they do accidentally create something that is super amazing and completely overpowered, they must severely weaken or nerf the gear so that it falls back in line. If they do not, everything they create afterwards has to be better, or it might as well have never been made at all. Instead of this system where the gear that you get must all be kept on the same level playing field or risk being nerfed into the ground, Bungie is giving all items in the game a power level ceiling, a maximum power level that an item can be infused to. This power level ceiling will be determined in 12-month increments. If you get a piece of armor in February, for instance, you can continue to use and infuse the power level of that piece of armor until the following February of the very next year. At this point, the weapon can no longer be infused to higher power levels.
It's important to note that this system of sunsetting does not affect exotics as of yet. Bungie has confirmed that they are interested in the idea of leaving exotics in eras similar to how they're doing with the legendaries in the game. This may one day enable them to make even stronger exotics than we're access to now, or even bring back some really broken ones from Destiny 1, Gjallarhorn, and who knows. But as of right now, exotics are confirmed to not be receiving the sunset treatment. You will be able to carry those with you indefinitely. Now, it's important to note that just because a weapon is sunset does not mean that the item cannot still be used. They aren't deleted. Instead, they can no longer be brought into the most difficult content in the game that is higher than their maximum infusable power level. All of the content in the game, when they were in season, these weapons I'm referring to, and infusable, they will still be viable in. But when a new raid launches or a new expansion releases, it will be time to leave the weapons of that previous era that we are leaving from in that area and usher in the new. This way, the game's loot stays relevant for a year in the highest content in the game, and then is sunset so that it can only be used in the normal content. Keep in mind that Bungie confirmed that sunset content and weapons can be brought back into the game later with new perks and raised power caps to be sought after again. But for purposes of having stuff to do in the game and giving us cool new weapons to chase, sometimes they have to say, alright, you are not going to put that awesome toy down, so I'm going to take that away for you a bit, and I'm going to give you this awesome toy to play with instead.
This accomplishes two things. One, it removes the constant need for Bungie to keep everything on the same level of play. If Bungie wants to start making gear in the game more meaningful and more powerful, they finally can. Instead of having to worry about new weapons or new armor pieces trivializing the new content they add, instead, that weapon simply cannot be infused up to the point of viability for that content. So Bungie can now release powerful weapons and armor and let the players have a much larger variety of loot to choose from. Additionally, Bungie no longer must build all content in the future with this super powerful weapon or armor piece looming as a threat in the back of their mind. 2. It removes the prime driver that Bungie had for nerfing or weakening gear in the game. Now it cannot be used forever, so Bungie will be creating more powerful weapons and armor and allowing players to have fun with them while they last. This yearly infusion limit allows players to keep the overpowered weapons and loot because instead of Bungie having to kill what makes those weapons special so that the game does not become easier, they now become sunset and are no longer a threat to the new challenges that Bungie wants to throw at us. Solution 2 to the Infinite Edition of Destiny 2 is the Destiny Content Vault, which arrives in September. Ever since Destiny 2 launched, every expansion or season has added new strikes, story missions, adventures, raids, planets, PvP maps, gambit maps, quests, and new layers of gameplay systems. After 3 years of constant addition, the game is reaching almost 120 gigabytes of storage needed on console. Every time Bungie wants to patch or update the game, that 120 gigabyte install slows down their ability to do so effectively and quickly. The game is getting too crowded and causing it to run at a much lower fidelity than what Bungie anticipated. What makes matters worse is that a majority of the 120 gigabytes is old content that is no longer played or no longer accessible to players. This September, Bungie is going to be removing or vaulting a large portion of Destiny 2 to make room for the new experiences that Bungie wants to have front and center. This vault will be used to store planets, or destinations as they're called in Destiny, as well as all the activities and missions that take place on that destination. Any exotic weapons or quests that had certain requirements or missions on those destinations will be relocated and reacquirable by new means starting in September. The Destiny Content Vault does not just allow Bungie to store underperforming content from Destiny 2, it also allows them to take existing content from Destiny 1 and port it into Destiny 2 for future use. For example, the Cosmodrome, a popular location located on Earth that was in Destiny 1, is coming back this September in Destiny 2, as well as 3 strikes that took place on that destination. This is possible because this content has been stored and reworked behind the scenes using the Destiny Content Vault. Bungie has confirmed that content that is vaulted is not gone forever, but instead removed from the live version of the game to make room for the new content. This vaulted content can be recycled and reintroduced later in the series if Bungie determines that it is needed. Content that Bungie has confirmed to be vaulting in September of 2020 includes the following: Mars, Io, Titan, Mercury, Leviathan, and all supported activities that are found on these destinations. Content confirmed to be making a reappearance in Destiny 2 Year 4 includes the following: the Cosmodrome, as well as 3 Destiny 1 strikes that are found on that destination. Vault of Glass. Yeah, Luke Smith himself confirmed that Vault of Glass would be making a return sometime in Year 4, which spans from the Beyond Light release in September of 2020 to the next expansion's release in September of 2021. A betting man like me would put money on spring of next year, but Bungie will be the ones to determine when Vault of Glass is reintroduced into the game. These 2 systems, sunsetting and the Destiny Content Vault, are 2 incredibly large, fundamental shifts in the franchise. Bungie has stated countless times in interviews that they do not want to make a 3rd game. They want to continue to build on what they've created now and implementing the best possible experiences that they are capable of creating. For your reference, Bungie revealed on June 9th, 2020 in the Beyond Light reveal stream not only the 2020 expansion, but the expansions for 2021 and 2022. Bungie has planned the next 3 years of content. They do not show any intention of making a sequel for the immediate future. The 2 systems that I've talked about and outlined today are going to empower Bungie to continue to build on the groundwork that Destiny 2 has brought to the franchise. Although these 2 topics are controversial in their nature, it is my opinion that they will drastically help the game and improve player experience. But with all things, Bungie is open to player feedback and course correcting if they feel the need to. At the time of recording this, these are the 2 biggest system changes that Bungie has outlined for Year 4, which again starts in September. This is what is happening to Destiny, the game that I love and I want to see succeed at every turn. For now, that's all I've got. I hope you found this informative and educational, no matter what walk of life you come from or understanding of Destiny that you possess. As more is expanded upon in regards to these 2 systems, I will provide updates here on YouTube, as well as on my Twitch and social media, which you can find in the description. If you made it this far, it's been an honor, and I look forward to seeing you out in the wild.